If you've watched that 70s show, then you probably know of the character Stephen Hyde, and if you don't know of him, he is Danny Masterson. Danny Masterson is a prominent actor, and he's known for his role on that 70s show, and he's also a member of the Church of Scientology. Well, a judge has now sentenced Danny Masterson to 30 years to life in prison for raping 2 women at his home in Hollywood Hills. 2 victims have come forward about being raped by Danny Masterson around 20 years ago, and the verdict is in. The judge has officially sentenced him to 30 years to life in prison. He received the maximum possible sentence for his conviction. A jury found that Danny was guilty of 2 counts of in May following 7 days of deliberation at Los Angeles Superior Court, and he has been locked up since. Justice has finally been served, and the internet is not only shocked about this news, but they're also relieved that he's finally getting jail time. Entertainment Weekly published an article, and they said the actor's wife, brother, and actress Leah Remini, a former Scientologist turned activist, were all in the courtroom for the sentencing. Masterson was first arrested in June 2020 and charged with raping 3 women in separate incidents between 2001 and 2003. The actor, who pleaded not guilty and previously denied all the allegations against him, was later released after he posted bond on his $3.3 million bail. Now, Danny was actually arrested back in June of 2020 as well for 3 other allegations of rape. His first rape trial, which began in October 2022, was declared a mistrial that November after its jury was unable to reach a final verdict on the 3 counts after 7 attempts and a week-long break for Thanksgiving. The decision was further complicated by 2 of its jurors testing positive for COVID-19, requiring them to both be replaced. A second jury found Masterson guilty of 2 counts of rape, but remained deadlocked on the 3rd count in a subsequent retrial in May 2023. Masterson did not testify during the trial, but his wife, actress Bijou Phillips, reportedly let out a cry in the courtroom when the verdict was revealed. Although not directly involved, the Church of Scientology had a heavy presence in both trials, as Masterson and the woman involved were all members of the church when the assaults occurred. In addition to the trial, the woman also filed a civil lawsuit against the church and Masterson in August 2019, which alleges that the actor stalked them after they reported his crimes to the police. That case is still ongoing.
I went to the Church of Scientology Celebrity Center last night in LA because they were having an open house and I had to see what that meant. Sidebar, we were the only people that showed up for this tour, but I will say that at the lower levels, this stuff is like very relatable and that's how they get people in, right? So the tour was very much about like self-help and getting rid of your stress and fear. So that all made sense. But of course there's like little signs the whole time that things are not right. To me, the most ridiculous part of the whole thing is that we asked about their policy on drugs and alcohol, and they said alcohol was okay and drugs weren't. And I just feel like if you're gonna say that drugs aren't okay because they affect your mind and body, like you can't argue that alcohol doesn't. And then I said, did you know there's this multi-million-dollar study going on at Hopkins around the benefits of psychedelics in therapeutic settings? And I said, if new research comes out, would Scientology ever alter their ways? And he said, absolutely not. Their way is the way. Bro, if you won't update based on modern research, you're a cult.
Now, Leah Remini, who was a former member of the Church of Scientology, released a statement on this situation as well, and here's what she had to say upon finding out about Danny Masterson's arrest. She uploaded a lengthy statement over on Twitter, and here's what she had to say. My statement on the sentencing of Scientologist Danny Masterson. Sitting in court today with the woman who had survived Danny Masterson's predation was a surreal experience. Over the past 7 decades, former Scientologists have sadly become used to Scientology using its financial resources, religious protection, and relationships to snatch justice away from them. It was reported that Danny Masterson would not be eligible for parole until he is 77 years old, which is 30 years from now. For over 2 decades, Danny Masterson avoided accountability for his crimes. While Danny was the only one sentenced, his conviction and sentence are indictments against Scientology, its operatives, and its criminal leader, David Miscavige. Scientology managed to cover up Danny's crimes with the help of its intelligence agency, the Office of Special Affairs, top church officials like Kirsten Peterson and Julian Swartz, its network of media-hungry, unethical attorneys, private investigators, agents, and civilian Scientologists who engaged in a conspiracy to cover up crimes of sexual violence. She added, "I'm relieved that this dangerous rapist will be off the streets and unable to violently assault and rape women with the help of Scientology, a multi-billion-dollar criminal organization with tax-exempt status." Hearing the survivors read their victim impact statements aloud in court while the man who raped them and some of the very Scientologists who terrorized them over 2 decades were just a feet away displayed a level of bravery that I am in awe of. These women not only faced the living hell of being raped, having their covered up by the very organization that promised to protect them, but they have also faced ruthless and criminal harassment by Scientology and its agents since they came forward to law enforcement. I will always remind the public that in Scientology, if you report another Scientologist to law enforcement, you are committing a high crime. These consequences of such a high crime are devastating. You will lose everything you've ever known, from your family, to your friends, to your job. The women who survived Danny's predation fought tirelessly for justice. Their tenacity, strength, and courage have given hope to all victims of Scientology that justice is possible. For that, we will forever be grateful. To the LAPD detectives, the LA District Attorney's Office, Judge Almedo, and the jury, we thank you for your fair and impartial approach to this case and trial. Now, the woman whom Masterson was convicted of raping in 2003 said, "When you raped me, you stole from me. That's what is a theft of the spirit." The woman also told the That 70s Show star, "You are pathetic, disturbed, and completely violent. The world is better off with you in prison." The other victim told Los Angeles Superior Court Judge Charlene Olmedo that the actor has not shown an ounce of remorse for the pain he caused. "I knew he belonged behind bars for the safety of all the women he came into contact with. I am so sorry and I'm so upset. I wish I'd reported him sooner to the police." Danny Masterson actually has a whole wife and a family of his own. He has a wife and he also has a 9-year-old daughter. And people are also bringing up his wife, saying that she is not much of a good person either. They brought up the situation of Bijou and her sister, Mackenzie, who was also in a similar situation that Danny Masterson is going to jail for, where Bijou was called out for knowing about how her sister was as well and not really hearing or doing anything about it.
Danny Masterson, this man, Danny Masterson, just got sentenced today to 30 years to life for doing non-consensual things with women. So we're going to talk about him and his horrible wife, who's been absolutely terrible to survivors, including her own sister. So she is the daughter of a celebrity, okay? Her dad is John Phillips from the Mamas and the Papas in the 70s, who you would know from the song California Dreamin'. They're still wildly popular, and he is horrible. Mackenzie Phillips wrote a book about him because, let me breathe. He forced his own daughter into, I can't even say it, it's so horrible, but you can read it in her book, okay? He forced his own daughter, Mackenzie Phillips, to be with him, as no child should ever have to be with their parent, okay? But he forced that to happen. So this is Mackenzie Phillips, and she's had a really rough life because of it. So what does her sister Bijou Phillips do? Bijou Phillips makes fun of Mackenzie, calls her a liar, smears her all over the public when she tried to come out and say, "Hey, my dad did this to me." Like, how can you do that to your own sibling? Well, my own siblings do that to me, and our mom who did that stuff to me, so I do get how that happens. But like, there's no excuse for that, okay? She treats survivors absolutely terribly. Also, by the way, they're both in Scientology, which you can go down that wormhole of how absolutely horrifying that stuff is. But like, it just makes me so mad that Bijou Phillips was like, "Yeah, my dad's the best," even knowing what he did to her sister. She knew what he did to her sister, and she admits that she knew, and she still thinks that he was great. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And like, you can find whole articles about Bijou Phillips and how terrible she is. Like, not only does she ridicule survivors and publicly smear them, she also like allegedly attacks people and says horrible stuff about gay people. Like, we should not be surprised that she is supporting her husband, who just got convicted for doing awful, awful things to women. Like, I can't even go into detail on here, but you can find the articles yourself. But like, she's messed up, he's messed up, they're both messed up.
I do not feel for Bijou. She publicly mocked the victims. She refused to believe her own sister's abuse. She does not deserve sympathy. Now, as far as the sentencing goes, there are some people who are saying that 30 years just seems too dragged for a crime like this, but there's others saying that it should be longer. Some of these comments are so ick. A jury gave him 30 with what they were presented with in court. He deserves it, if not more. Anyways, guys, I definitely want to know what you guys think about this situation. I honestly feel for the victims and his daughter in this situation, but I definitely want to know what you guys think in the comments down below. I love you guys so much, and as always, I'll see y'all in the next video.